Hello, and welcome to the Say It Out Loud podcast. I am your host, Christine Daynard, and the goal of this podcast is to encourage you to live your best and most authentic life by digging deeper and finding connection through vulnerability. I believe we have been taught that vulnerability is a weakness, when in fact it is our superpower. In this space, I will share personal stories and conversations with others so you can be empowered by their strength and inspired to take action in your own life. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's get started. Well, hello, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being here. And, I just want to start there. I just want to start with some thanks. Because whether this is the very first episode that you have fallen upon in the Say It Out Loud podcast, or if you're somebody who keeps coming back or sporadically show up when a topic or subject sounds good, I'm just so glad you're here. And I'm so glad that you're listening to this conversation. And, one day I would love to have a podcast or even maybe a show where we have some dialogue and we share our thoughts and ideas and, as an audience to host and or hosts. That is certainly a dream of mine. I'm going to put it out there. But for now, this is like a one-way communication. So you're listening and I'm trying to find different ways that you can respond and submit questions or thoughts or ideas or comments about the episodes as you are listening. So maybe I'll just actually draw your attention to the show notes, which are basically where the description of the episode is. I'll put a little description in there with just about every episode. And then at the very bottom, I'm going to include a place that you can send your notes, your thoughts, your feelings about the things that we're talking about here. And maybe even just submit some ideas on things that you're finding in the world that are happening or you're experiencing yourself, maybe something you want to say out loud but aren't comfortable coming and using the microphone and telling everybody, and you'd love for me to anonymously talk about the challenge that it is that you have going on. I am up for all of it because the purpose of this podcast is to say it out loud. The purpose of this podcast is to talk about the things that no one's talking about, to get real and have a real conversation and dialogue about what's really happening with us, how we're reacting to things, how we're responding to things, how we're being in our lives, the things that we've experienced and sort of what have been the results of those things, because all of us, I would say that pretty much everybody in the world has faced trauma in one way or another. And what's really interesting, certainly here in North America, is that it's certainly against our culture to talk about those things. There's a big stigma around, mental health. There's a big stigma around, domestic abuse. There's a big stigma around sharing your feelings, crying in public, all of these things, which is so weird to me. When we think about the fact that we're human, right? We're human and we're all out here having this human experience in our imperfection, and feelings are all a part of it. Who we are and how we operate and what's happened to us and all of this stuff. It's I really feel like shame and guilt shouldn't be attached to these things. Oftentimes things happen to us and somehow we believe, and maybe we're taught to believe that, we should feel shame or guilt about those things. And I'm really coming at it from a different angle in this space. It's what? Let's say goodbye to shame and guilt. Let's say goodbye to all this bullshit that we've been taught in the culture of our world, or certainly in North America, that we somehow have to keep things quiet. And certainly in this world of social media where, there's a highlight reel and everybody talks about all the things that are just good instead of talking about a lot of the things that are really real and that are happening and that are impacting people, So this is a space where we say it all. We say it all out loud. And today I wanted to talk to you and put a real sort of positive spin, and not even a spin. Spin is the wrong word, but put a mindful vibe out into the world and into your ears as you listen to this episode today, because I don't know if you've noticed, but the world feels like it's on fire, and it doesn't matter what way you look or where you listen. It just seems like there are so many insane things going on in the world. And it feels like in these last few years, there's been a lot going on. There's been a lot of change, a lot of things that are unsettled and so many unknowns. And I feel like, I don't know about you, but I can certainly feel the energy when I'm out there in the world. I can feel it and see it by the way that people drive their cars, by how they, have patience in a grocery store, how they respond to the clerk at the store. There's so many things that I notice, and I'm sure that you're picking up on a lot of them too, where people have very little patience or understanding or compassion, and we all kind of seem to be like going along with this idea that we should like get over our feelings and we should move forward and like get over yourself and blah blah blah. Like there's all this like real sort of aggressive, assertive impatience that seems to be happening around us. And I guarantee it's as a result of all of the shit that is going on in the world and all the stuff that we've been through for the past few years that no one's really talking about, right? So, today, I really wanted to just express some ideas and thoughts around having a practice of gratitude. And, it feels like, when I have conversations with people about this, sometimes it's like, people feel like they're being selfish, or that they're very self-absorbed if they're thinking about themselves, or that, while things are going on in other parts of the world, that they can't appreciate what they have. They feel guilt and shame for what they have, and or they feel that like, what's going on in their world is insignificant because worse things are going on in other parts of the world. And, the truth is that all of us are hurting in different ways. And yes, some may be a literal more violent and or more horrible, experience that people are experiencing in different parts of the world. But we are all experiencing the effects of what's happening around us and the lives that we're living and the days from day to day that we're experiencing. And, a lot of us feel like, I'll certainly speak for myself. Like, I know I feel often, you hear what's going on in the news and you feel helpless and you feel like you can't contribute or you can't make change happen. And it's frustrating and it feels paralyzing because we can't really do a whole lot. Like there's organizations we can give back to, there's ways that we can contribute to offering support, but oftentimes it is really difficult to know what to do and how to make change happen. And so, the one thing that we always have the power over is the power over ourselves and the control over, how we think, what's going on in our mind, how our mindset is sitting on any given day, the stories that we're telling ourselves, the experiences that we're having, and the experiences that we're cultivating or curating for ourselves, what those are, because it's so important to like manage our energy, And especially when all these things in the world are seemingly getting worse by the day, it's like, it doesn't seem to be getting any better. But instead of always focusing on what's outside of us and what's going on outside of our realm of control, really focusing inward is a really great way to ease the anxiety, ease the fear, ease the frustration and all the emotion that comes with the inability to be able to make change happen where we have no control. And when we come inward, or when we have a practice of gratitude and recognizing the things in our lives that we're really grateful for and really happy that we have and really happy that we get to experience, it'll start to elicit feelings of joy and happiness within us. So instead of focusing on everything that's happening outside of us, we can actually focus on what's going on in our own lives, the good things that are happening. Because here's the thing, you know what? If you continue to look for the bad, my friend, you will keep finding the bad. But if you start to look for the good, you will find more good. And I believe that, in our culture, certainly in North America, we're always fixated, and I feel like we're almost like trained to focus on what's going wrong, right? Like this is what the news focuses on. This is what, pretty much any major money-making corporate, anything in the industry of industries is making money on the fact that they're making us look at what's wrong with us so that we can fix it by using their product, or what's wrong with going on in the world. So we're impacted by all of this energy, and we're impacted by all of this bad and the things that are going wrong. And, I feel like, sure, it's easy to get caught up in, right? And it's like I said, as soon as you see one thing bad happen, it's like, yeah, all the other things just kind of start going in this domino effect, and they keep happening. But what we don't often realize is that we can really shift gears, and we can shift our mind to focus on the things that are good. And like I said, when we focus on the good, we are going to find more good. And a practice of gratitude really allows us to do that. And there has not been a better time in the world to practice gratitude. And if this is sort of like a new concept for you, if you're listening to me talk out loud about this and you're like, what does that even really mean? Like, what I'm grateful for, like, this isn't Thanksgiving, like, I don't know what where your mind goes when you think of a practice of gratitude, but, by definition, gratitude is a way that people can appreciate what they have instead of always searching or reaching for something new or something outside of them in the hopes that that's going to make them happier, or in thinking that things are going to make them feel joyful, when in fact we can be satisfied in our everyday and these small little acts of good, and the small little things that really make life. And when we focus on those things, we really are focusing on what we have instead of what we don't have, or a term that's often used is lack. If we're constantly focused on what's going wrong, we're constantly focused on what's not happening, or we're constantly focusing on like where we haven't got yet, or the things we haven't accomplished yet, or any of these things, we continue to keep looking at that. And believe it or not, what you believe and what you think, you attract more of. It's not just a coincidence that you're walking around in the world and you're having a bad day and more bad things start to happen. It's like literally your energy is drawing more bad things. And so when we can shift that and start to look at the good, or start to be more grateful for the little things in our everyday, it really brings us back home. It really brings us back to being present, being living and breathing in the moment, and being grateful for the small things that, like, often money can't buy. It's acts of kindness. It's the little things, is someone's laugh. It's a hot cup of coffee in the morning. It's, sitting outside and putting your feet in the dirt. It's going for a walk on a trail and being in nature and feeling the energy of that. It's, having a warm bed to crawl up in at night. It's, having someone call you who you haven't talked to in months or years or maybe weeks or whatever. It's coming home at the end of the day and someone's got dinner on the table. It's, hearing your children giggle and laugh together and have a good time playing a game in the family or in the family room or, somewhere in the home. Like, these are all the little moments that actually make life. It's because when you think about it, it's like we all kind of plan these big grandiose things for ourselves. And we always plan like, what we're going to achieve and where we're going to see success. And we're going to get that bigger house, or maybe we're going to get that better car, or maybe we're going to, get that raise, or we're going to, all these things. We're going to get the boat or have the cottage, or we're going to have all this stuff, which there's nothing wrong with having things or owning things. I mean, that's amazing. But those things don't bring us joy and happiness. Maybe in the moments, maybe in the fleeting experience of being able to attain those things, sure. And maybe sometimes when we're sharing those things with others, amazing. But often it's in those little moments that we're really finding those moments of hope and good and kindness and those feel good, joyful and happiness, energies. Those are happening when we're in the moments with people. Those are happening when we're not expecting something. Have you ever noticed that when you make a big plan or a big party or a holiday or anything, you've got all these great ideas about what you think it's going to be and what it's going to look like and how it's going to feel and the people you're going to meet or the experiences that you're going to have. And then you go and do that thing and it's never quite what you thought it was going to be. It's funny how that expectation can really be disappointing because we put this huge expectation on ourselves to do all these things. Like I said, to, climb the corporate ladder, to make all this money, to collect all these things and et cetera. And we think that they're going to bring us happiness and success and we're going to feel much better. But really at the end of the day, we don't. And I don't know about you, but of course, more recently, naturally, we found out about the passing of Matthew Perry, who was one of the actors in the series Friends that played for years, and the reruns continue today. And, I obviously didn't know Matthew Perry, and I certainly watched Friends on reruns. Like, I probably watched the series about 10 times. Hello, those 3 years that we were locked in our houses. What else did you do but watch reruns, right? I mean, it was something that was really, it was just entertaining, and it was nostalgic, and it reminded you of certain things. Anyways, but to learn of his passing and the memoir that he wrote more recently about his life and about how he struggled being an alcoholic and a drug addict, and how all he wanted to do was to help others, to sort of turn that ship around, that his rebirthing and his coming home, it makes me emotional, was to help others, right? Whoo, gives me the cries. Is that I don't even know the man, but his story is very relevant right now, because, he thought that, becoming famous and becoming rich and having success in being famous was going to bring him happiness. It was going to make his life amazing. And he struggled every single day. Right? Like, let's think about that for a second. From the outside, you would look in thinking that he had everything. But he was sick. He was an alcoholic, and he was a drug addict, and he was doing his best to create some love in the world by, sharing what it meant to be an alcoholic, what it meant to become famous, all the pressure that came with that, all of the expectation that came with that, self-inflicted expectation, but also that of others, and how your life is like, such a limelight. You're always under the camera, and he expressed a lot of that, like in his memoir, and as people are talking about him since his passing, like, it makes me emotional, and it makes me emotional because I feel like it's so relative in our world today, is that we all think that something else outside of us is going to be better, that something, when we go and strive for it, when we go and get that job, our life is going to be better. When we have that boyfriend or that husband or that better car, our life is going to be better. We always think that my life is going to be better when, or I'm going to start living when. Listen to me when I say, we are not here for a long time. And people are all over the place leaving this world much earlier than we would ever anticipate people would leave this world. Like Matthew Perry, I think he was 53, 54 when he passed. And, like I'm 48. That's really real. A few weeks ago, I was actually taking the train home from Toronto, ended up having to switch over to the bus, and ended up sitting beside this girl who had lost her mom just a couple months before her sitting beside me and us having a chat on the bus. She had lost her mom 2 months before that, and her mom was 52 years old. I don't know about you, but I'm constantly hearing about people losing their lives. And of course, in these crazy times in the world today and what is happening out in the world, I get emotional because I can feel this energy, this collective energy from what's happening around us. There's so much going on. But what's so similar in all these stories is that most of us are not spending the time to be grateful for what we have in the moment. Not even realizing that that moment could be our last moment. And is it really important? All these things outside of us, all these things that we pretend to be, or all these masks that we wear out there, all of this stuff that we try to attain, or these things we think are going to make us feel better. But really, ultimately, it comes down to us. It comes down to how we treat ourselves. It comes down to how much compassion we show ourselves and others. And it comes down to these little moments and these little things that we can be grateful for in our everyday. They are the things that we will never get back. They are the memories that will be held on by those who remain around longer than we do. They're going to remain as part of the story and the fabric of who we are as people, and the experiences that we had and how we left people feeling, or how people left us feeling, right? So maybe this is like a sobering conversation. I feel like we all need a wake-up call. We need a wake-up call to realize that, life is fleeting here, right? We're not in control of a lot of things. So when I talk about gratitude and mindfulness and having this practice of gratitude and appreciating what we have in today, in this now, in this moment, like sitting here, having this conversation, being able to share my heart and my thoughts and my feelings with you, I am grateful for this. There was a time and place in the world that this couldn't even have existed. There was a time and a place in the world where this couldn't have happened because I was a woman. There are all kinds of things that, I could focus on, but really and ultimately I'm grateful in this moment for this ability to sit and have this conversation with you, to maybe, have you realize in a moment that, if we're not grateful, if we're not considering what's really good in our lives, we're giving it away. It's like, I don't know. I'm feeling this I'm just like cozying myself up in this sweater right now, looking out into this cold, breezy evening as I record this episode. And, I just feel like if we could just come back to thinking of the small things and being grateful every day, what change we would see in our lives and how much it will improve. I've been having a practice of gratitude for some time now, and sometimes it's better than others, just like anything that we do. It's like we fall into habits and patterns of things, and then we fall out sometimes and then we get back in. And I'm human just like everybody else listening to this. So, I have moments where I'm not as great at it, and I have moments that I'm better at it. But I certainly notice that when I'm looking for things that are good, and when I'm looking for those little moments to bring me back to the present time, to bring me right here, right now, man, does it ever change my world. It changes the appreciation that I have for myself and for the people that are around me. It has me really appreciating that I've, even though I've struggled a lot, and I'm sure that those of you listening have struggled a lot in life too, that there are lots of little things to be grateful for. And, I just feel like if we could come back to this, we could change a lot. We could change our experience in the world by being grateful. Just last week, my son was sick. He was sick for like 5 days with a fever. Good Lord. I was like, is this fever ever going to go away? And it was starting to get me a little bit worried. And then finally it broke. And, but during that time, and the fact that he was sick, of course, I wasn't happy about the fact that he was sick. But the one thing that I noted as something I was grateful for or had gratitude for in that time was that we got to spend time together. We got to just sit around on the sofa watching movies together. Something that, I have a teenage son, something that we don't do that often together anymore because, well, he's a teenager. He's interested in other things, right? And so it's like we don't spend that kind of time together on a regular basis. And when he was sick, I was able to spend that time with him. And I really appreciated that. Again, not the fact that he was sick, but I appreciated the fact that I got that time to be able to sit with him and hang out with him and laugh with him and, poke fun at whatever we were watching or, talk about bigger topics or things that whatever show or documentary we were watching that we were able to have a conversation about it, which was amazing. Like I loved that. That's the stuff that I'm talking about, right? It's like, we're going to remember how people made us feel. We're going to remember the conversations that we had. We're going to remember the breakthroughs that we had in our own mindsets. We're going to remember the moments that we had where we laughed and it was silly and we had fun and it didn't involve anything really much outside of us. It was just us being people, being human, having a good time, doing the best that we could. And so I really just wanted to bring our attention back to there's so much going on in the world. Yes. But here's the thing. There will always be a lot going on in the world. There'll always be, and I feel like, it's not slowing down, right? It's like, it seems like this sort of like raging fire, not so much in the literal sense, but it seemed earlier this year, like a literal sense that this fire sort of isn't going out, right? But if we can shift how and where we focus and put our energy, and if we can be grateful for those little moments, then we're making the best of what we have. And that we can put our lives into perspective and we can be reminded that we're here for some of that good, right? And of course, naturally with a, practice of gratitude and focusing on the good, what ends up happening is you just start to notice more and more of those little moments and you start to lean into desiring and wanting more and more of those little moments because they're what make you feel good. They light you up from the inside. They fill your cup. They give you energy. They fill you up with love. They fill you up with gratitude. And you're able to go out into the world and share that bright light with others. And just imagine, with all this darkness that's happening in the world today, if most of us could get out there and start lighting ourselves up from the inside, really changing how we felt on a daily basis and what we're grateful for, and being able to share that goodness out into the world with other people while we're driving our cars, while we're in the grocery shop and talking to the clerk, while we're shopping online, whatever it is that we're doing, any energy that we're sharing with other people was sharing it in this lit upness from the inside. This gratitude of lives that we're living, that even though the world feels like a shitstorm, that there is still something good to be found. There's still hope and faith in the world. There is still lots of good out there. And when we spend time looking for it, we're going to find more and more of it. And that light is going to light up others, and so on and so on and so on. I really wanted to share this with you. And this is something that we've been working on in the Joy Project community this month. And every month we have a theme. And this month our theme is gratitude, or the practice of gratitude. And we've been having some really great conversations around it and what it means for us to be grateful. And I'm just loving seeing everyone in the membership just share their thoughts and feelings and the things that they're grateful for. And it really is bringing things down to the grassroots level, because really that's what we're made for. All this other stuff is just icing, right? Like we're human first. And it's bringing this incredible connection, not only between us as members within this group, but as we are lighting our cups up with gratitude, we are sharing that gratitude with others. And here I am sharing it with you. And so I just want to encourage you to start filling up your own cup. And, if you are looking for a place that you can, as a woman, you can come in and be supported by other women and learn together and grow together and, not only develop as humans, like in that, land of personal development, but also be supported and have some fun and learn new things and learn to be more mindful and like how you can make a good impact in the world, like just by being more of yourself and leaning into who you are authentically, then the Joy Project community is probably for you. If you feel just like a little nudge, just as I said those things, if you feel connected to my energy in any way, if you feel like you want to feel more of that, you want to feel more goodness and joy and contentment in yourself and in the life that you're living, man, consider joining us in the Joy Project community. It is becoming sort of its own thing, this entity of wow, it's just so organic and natural. And, we just show up as we are. There's no pretending. And, if that sounds good to you, if you're tired of pretending or trying to fit in with others, or, you find yourself behaving in one way in a certain group of people and another way in another group of people because you're not sure how they're going to accept you, and you're afraid to show up in your authenticity, start in a place where it is encouraged and join us in the Joy Project community, where you get a chance to practice just being who you are, showing up as you every time, building your confidence and building in a place where it's safe to do so. And there are other people there doing the same thing. So naturally, of course, that was a little unintended little plug, but maybe really intentional from the heart, because it's such a passion project for me. And I feel like so many people need more joy in their lives. And yes, it can be as simple as having moments of gratitude. That is absolutely where it starts. But having the support and the accountability with other people and being encouraged by a group of people who want to see you flourish and do really well and grow and be more of who you are in the world and be able to share more of that with more people. Wow, it's just awesome. So I would love to have you join it. And I also just want to thank you for being here and listening to this episode. Life is a combination of the darkness and the light. And we have a choice. We can lean more into the darkness and look for more of it, or we can lean into the light and find more of it. And I don't know about you, but there feels like a whole lot of darkness right now. And if we could shine a light into all those little corners and light up those spots of darkness together, imagine what an impact we could make. Imagine what an improved life you could have if you felt more joy on a regular basis and you didn't need anything outside of you except for you to produce it. I really believe that this is what I was made for. And it is absolutely with my whole heart that I have jumped in to help women find this for themselves. And I hope that you'll consider joining. And you know what? simply start with a practice of gratitude. And remember, it is called a practice for a reason. It's never going to be perfect. You're going to struggle at the beginning. And then eventually it'll become more of your habit. And next thing you know, you're starting to look out for all these good things. And then as these good things are happening around you, all of a sudden, all these great things start happening. And you start attracting really awesome people in your life. And you start attracting all the things that you're looking for in your life to help fill that cup up even more. It's kind of magical. It's kind of amazing. But you really got to want joy, and you really got to want to look on the inside to dig out all the stuff that's been in there for a long time and remove it so you can plant new seeds and start again. So anyway, I hope this episode helped. Think of 1 to 3 things every day that you're grateful for. Grab yourself a journal, a notebook, a piece of paper, keep it beside your bed, write them down every day. And remember, it can be the most simple things. It can be I had a hot cup of coffee this morning. I put my feet in the dirt and I felt the ground with my bare feet. It can be, I got my dog out for an extra walk today and I'm grateful for the movement. It can be that I just curled up in my warm bed and had a great sleep. It can be, I'm grateful to be surrounded by, beautiful trees or landscape. It can be anything. You can find gratitude in anything if you're looking for it. So I encourage you to go and do that. And if you want some support and a place where you can practice it along with other things that just make you feel better as a human, I would love for you to join us. So check out the show notes where the description is, or follow me on Instagram or Facebook. It's me, Christine D, or visit itsmechristined.ca and you can find some information there too. I hope you have an awesome day and go on and practice gratitude. It will change your life. Thank you for listening to this episode. I'd like to invite you to hit the follow button on this podcast so you'll be notified when the next one drops. And if you liked this episode, please leave a review, as it will help others to find this message. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at It's Me, Christine D. Or if you'd like to connect about being a guest on the show, ask me about group or one-on-one joy and mindset coaching, learn more about the Joy Project community, or consider hiring me for your next speaking engagement, please visit itsmechristined.ca. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.